Are you a Bible college student or a seminary student and you have to do a word study and have no idea how to do it? Are you a person who goes to a hardcore Bible teaching church and they always talk about doing an exegesis and you have no idea what an exegesis is? Have you ever wondered how people even determine context? Most importantly, have you ever wondered about how the Bible is translated from Hebrew and Greek into English and how we come up with all these crazy ideas of context? Well, if you're wondering about any of those things or anything in between, keep watching this video because what I'm going to show you in this video is how to do a word study and how we can take Hebrew concepts and translate them into English and how we can make sense of it in the English language. Well, today is going to be a little bit different from what we normally do on this channel. We're going to get a little bit technical today, a little bit scientific, and a little bit, crazy. So if you have never done any type of technical study on the Bible, keep watching this video. Watch it all the way through, simply because I'm going to show you how it's done, basically, and you'll be able to see the amount of work that goes into it and how things are done and so on and so forth. So if you've ever heard somebody talk about an exegesis before or context, this video is going to show you what context actually is. It's going to show you what an exegesis really is. Because what you have to understand about an exegesis is that an exegesis is really hard, number one. Number two, it takes a long time to do an exegesis. And it's a lot of work, and you literally have to type the work out in a Word document. So I have a Word document prepared. We're going to look at it in this video, and we're going to talk about how to do a word study. So basically, for this video, I have one Bible passage. It's Proverbs chapter 11, verse 1, I believe. I picked that proverb, and we have one word that we're going to pick from that passage, and we're going to look at that word in the Hebrew, and we're going to look at it in the English, and we're going to study the word basically, and we're going to try and figure out what it means, and we're going to try and build context. So if you've ever wondered what Proverbs 11:1 actually means, well, that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So that's why you should watch the video all the way through, because it's going to be fun, it's going to be exciting. And if you've never done a word study before, or you're wondering how to do a word study, this video is going to help you because it's going to show you what your word study should look like when you get done with it. It'll show you the amount of work that you need to put into the word study to really do a word study greatly, or at a high-performing level, if you will. But before we get too far into this video, I just want to take a couple of seconds to tell you about my YouTube channel and why I think you should subscribe. First of all, this is a Bible study channel, and what we do here is study the Bible because we take the Bible seriously, and we seriously study the Bible. So, if you are looking for a Bible study that's online that's absolutely free, you just found it. And you can go ahead and click subscribe and the bell notification. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, my name is Adam Jorden Clark, and I publish a brand new video every single day. So today we're going to be talking about Proverbs chapter 11, and we're going to be doing a word study. So this is Blue Letter Bible, and this is a website that you should start using if you want to study the Bible at more of an advanced level. And here we have so many different functions, but we're going to keep it very simple. So the Bible passage that we have is Proverbs chapter 11, verse 1. Here's what it reads in the New American Standard Bible, the NASB. Here's what it reads. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. So the word we want to look at is balance. We want to talk about the word balance. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click the word tools. And what the word tools here is, it's going to bring up the Hebrew. So here is the actual Hebrew phrase, the Hebrew verse. And when you read Hebrew, you actually start on the right and you read right to left. So that's how you read Hebrew. Hebrew is read from right to left. And another thing that is important to note about the Hebrew, just so you know, that when you are reading Hebrew, if you notice, there are these two little dots at the end of the verse. That actually indicates that that verse is ended. That's the end of the verse. So the word we want to look at is right here, balance. And what we can do, if we want to hear what it sounds like, we can click the little play button. If we want to know more, we can click into Strong's Concordance and learn more about that word. And this is the English, which means balance. So let's go ahead and click the Strong's Concordance. So when we come here to Strong's Concordance, we can see the Greek word, we can see the transliteration here, we can see the pronunciation. And if we want to learn how to pronounce it, we can just click the little play button here for the speaker to hear it sounded. And here's the root word right there. And the part of speech, it is a masculine noun. When we come to the Word document, the first thing I want you to notice is that there is a lot of information in this document. There's about 1,000 words or so. And it's all pretty much just technical stuff or technical information about the word balance. And the reason why I want to show you this is because when you do a word study, this is what you should be doing. This is how your word study should be done, and this is what it should look like at the end. Everything should be nice and neat in paragraph form, and so on and so forth. So what I want to do is take a look here at this very most important step, which is to select the most important word for your study. Now, the word that we selected is balance, because balance is the actual action, if you will, of the passage. It doesn't make sense if we don't, in other words, the passage doesn't make sense unless we know what a balance means, because the passage says it is a false balance that is an abomination to the Lord. Well, if we don't know what a balance is, it's not going to help us. So here we have selected the word balance or scale. We've also selected a pronoun, which means abomination. So we are looking at two words in the study. We're looking at balance and we're looking at abomination. Because again, if it's a false balance, we need to know what that balance is. We need to know exactly what that means. And the reason why we need to know is because it's causing an abomination to the Lord. So that also means that we need to know what abomination means. So this word is crucial for understanding Proverbs 11:1 because the passage explains God's reaction to the behavior of mankind. Balance refers to mankind's ability to make good decisions, and Proverbs 11:1 makes it clear that a false balance is an abomination to the Lord. The word false is not necessary for the study because it simply means to not be honest or truthful in one's presentation of facts. However, the word balance is necessary to study because the entire passage hinges upon the meaning of this word, followed by the pronoun abomination. So that's why we're looking at both words, because we need to know what abomination means. We also need to know what a false balance means. Another thing that we need to do that's very important for the study that we're not going to be talking too much about in this video, I just want to mention it briefly, is we need to determine the uses of the Hebrew word. In other words, we need to go into the Bible and see how many times that one Hebrew word is used. And it's used about 15 times in the New King James. And here are all the times or all the occurrences that this word balance is used in the Old Testament. So balances were common to the Hebrew people, and the concept often occurs in the Old Testament. The concept of honest scales and honest wages appears in variations throughout the Old Testament, with Leviticus 19:36 being the clearest on the aspect of a person making a good decision or a bad decision. The prophet Daniel used the concept when he interpreted the writing on the wall. However, the occurrence of the writing on the wall is connected to God's judgment upon humans and not making a balanced decision. The same connection is made in Proverbs 11, verse 1, with the reference to unjust balances being an abomination to the Lord. So obviously, this question of balances really calls into question, what exactly does a balance mean? There's one more important thing that I want you to see, and that is the English uses of the word balance. We need to understand other English words that describe balance. This is probably one of the most crucial elements of the word study process, because what this does for us is it tells us about how translators choose words. So when we look here at this list, we can see stability, we can see account, we can see scale, steadiness, judge, measure, weight, force, awaiting a decision, harmony, pay, amount or an amount due, equal, adjust, reckon, assess, calculate. So balance, for example, just to give you an idea of what balance can mean in terms of calculation. I went to the bank and asked for the balance of my accounts. So therefore, it can refer to accounting. It can refer to amounts paid or amount due. So balance can be talking about money. It can also be talking about judgment. So what exactly is a balance? Well, the best way for us to think about a balance is to go to Google and type in a Roman scale, because a balance is basically a Roman scale. And if you look at your screen, you can see what one of these balances look like. I'm sure you've seen this before. You have one little pot on this side and a little pot on that side. It's got some chains, it goes up. And, you put stuff in this side, it goes down or up, or you put side, it's a balance. It's a scale. It's how people used to measure things back in the olden days. And so it is a false balance that is an abomination to the Lord. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord. So if we draw a little sketch here, we can see here's a balance, or a scale, if you will, and it hangs. And so if we put more weight on this side, it will go down, and this side will go up because it's lighter. Well, why is this very important for us to understand? Well, let me explain something to you. Back in the olden days, here's what used to happen. Let's say I lived 5,000 years ago and I wanted to buy a piece of property. Well, I would go to the homeowner or the landowner and I'd say, yo, dude, I want to buy some land. And he would say, okay, it cost X amount of dollars or silver or whatever. So what would happen is he would pull out a scale, or I would pull out a scale, and we would place the money on the scale to see how much it weighs. Why did we do that? Why would we do that? Well, here's why. Because back in those days, they didn't count money like we do. They placed it on a scale and they weighted the money. And so what people would do for a dishonest wage or a dishonest balance is they would take a little bag. So you got to think about this for a second, because 500 pieces of silver is a lot. You can't take 500 pieces of silver and put it on something this big, So you got to put it in a bag first. Well, once it's in a bag, it's concealed and you can't see it. So what does that mean? It means I can place other things in this bag to make a dishonest scale, to make dishonest wages. So I can go down to the little creek there and get myself some little pebbles or little rocks or something and shove them in there with the silver. And take my silver out. So it makes the weight, makes it feel like there's more silver in there, or the right amount of silver, when really I just replaced it with rocks. So therefore it's a dishonest wage. So when you put the rocks in a bag and you put it on the scale, it's going to weight the same amount as silver. So what would happen is the guy would think that I'm giving him 500 pieces of silver, when in reality I'm probably giving him 10 pieces of silver mixed in with a whole bunch of rocks. And he goes off thinking, he made off like a bandit or whatever. In reality, I just ripped him off. So that's why the passage says it is a false balance, that it's an abomination to the Lord, because you're stealing from people. And so there's lots of passages in the Old Testament where it talks about this dishonest wage or dishonest balance, if you will. But that is the concept. It is this idea of juggling something like this. It's a horizontal scale. You weight it and you weight a decision. So when we come back to the passage, we can clearly see that it says, it is a false balance that is an abomination to the Lord, and a just weight is his delight. So this passage is clearly talking about this idea of scale. So the word balance here is referring to many different things. When we come back to the word document, what we see here is calculate. We see equal or level. We see amount due. We see awaiting a decision, because you got to think, when you place this thing on the scale, there's going to be a couple of seconds, couple of minutes for it to adjust. So you're awaiting the decision. It can be forceful. It can also be weight. It's a way of measuring something. It's a way of judging somebody. So in other words, if I make a deal with you and you put your money on the scale and you're giving a dishonest wage, that means that I know who you are as a person. I know your character. You're a person who wants to rip people off. So therefore, I can judge you based on that action. It's a scale, it's accounting, and it's stability. Okay? And so when we read this passage, a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. We begin to understand what this passage is talking about. A false balance is referring to a scale. And just to remind you of what that looks like, All you have to do is come to Google and type in a Roman scale, and here's what we're talking about. An honest wage. So remember that when you go to the self-checkout aisle in your local grocery store and you have to place your food, for example, sometimes you got to place the meat or the produce on the scale so it can weight so you can pay your wages. You know, some people like to rip off the grocery store. And so what they'll do is they'll place, half of the produce on the scale and the other half not. That's a dishonest wage. That is a false balance. Some people will go to the self-checkout and they have 5 items, and instead of ringing up all 5 items, they'll ring out 4. Well, that is a false balance. And what's the worst part about all this stuff is that the Bible clearly tells us that it is a false balance. It is dishonest wages that's an abomination to the Lord. Abomination means detestable. It means abhorred. It means the worst thing possible. So just remember, the next time you go to the grocery store and you're ripping off your local grocery store because of a dishonest wage or a false balance, just know that's an abomination to God. That's one of the worst things that you could ever do, rip somebody off. And yet people do it all the time. Christians do it all the time, and they say, God loves me. Well, if God loves you, why is he saying that this is an abomination? Something for you to wrestle with. It's something for you to go home and think about. Something for you to think about the next time you're at the grocery store and you're taking your food and you're pushing it off the scale so you can get a cheaper price. My name's Adam Jorden Clark. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment below and tell me something interesting. And don't forget to subscribe because I publish a brand new video every single day. My name's Adam Jorden Clark, and as always, I will see you in the next video.